Welcome to Not a Hurricaneville. Wow, that sucked. This is our model for a hurricane, where hurricanes happen a lot, even though they say that it doesn't, because
they're doctors. We should trust them, but we shouldn't.
Okay, well, getting on with our thing. This is a village which has hurricanes a lot. What is a hurricane, you might ask? A hurricane is this, except a lot bigger and
more deadly.
And yes, thank you. They are called in the Western Hemisphere hurricanes. Yeah. So they are tropical storms that form from the trade winds that come together and strengthen to sustained winds of 74 miles an hour, or even higher, depending on how strong they become. When they mature, hurricanes have several key components, such as an eye, which is the middle part, like the center, the eye wall, which is the thing right next to the center, overcast, which is the fluffy cotton, and the outflow, which is the wispy things that form around it. Okay. They bring such effects as heavy rains, high waves, and even tornadoes, which when they make landfall anywhere from the Caribbean islands to the Canadian Maritimes. Hurricanes usually occur during the summer and fall months of the year. As a matter of fact, the Atlantic hurricane season lasts from June 1st to November 30th each year. However, there have been instances where tropical storms and hurricanes have formed in May or December. Now, you may ask, what causes these things? Well, when the surface of the water gets really, really warm, light winds happen, and there's a slight rotation or spin, and then a hurricane happens.
Where do they occur? Hurricanes can form almost anywhere in the tropical Atlantic basin, from the west coast of Africa near the Cape Verde Islands to the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea. There are several prime areas where development can occur depending on the time of year and whether or not the necessary environment conditions are in place. Here are the most common places for hurricanes to develop in the Atlantic basin. The Gulf of Mexico. This is a very favorable region for hurricane development, since the water temperatures range from 85 to 90 degrees during the course of hurricane season. Then there's the Western Caribbean. While the Western and Central Caribbean are usually not favorable areas for development, since upper level winds are usually hostile, the Western Caribbean is more favorable since these same winds lessen. Then next and finally is the Cape Verde Islands. This is probably the most common area for development of many of the classic and powerful hurricanes. This region usually doesn't become favorable for development until August, when water temperatures become warm enough to support tropical formation. These areas are the most common places for hurricane development, but they can occur elsewhere in the Atlantic basin, including the Central and Eastern Caribbean.
Okay, so now that you've learned about a hurricane, you might be scared, and you might wonder, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to fend off one of these things? And that's what...
In reality, you can.
Wow.
And Sophie's going to tell you about the safety of hurricane and how to be prepared. So you should enter the season prepared, and you should know all evacuation routes if you ever live close to the coast. Make sure your home meets building codes for withstanding hurricanes and that they have storm shutters. Have proper tools, supplies, and first aid kit. Have plenty of batteries and flashlights, and always have plenty of non-perishable foods on hand. When a warning or a watch is issued, you should leave low-lying areas, protect windows with plywood boards or storm shutters, secure outside objects, make sure you have plenty of fuel and water, and have several days of supply of food and water for each family member. If you are called to evacuate, do so immediately. For the storm, you should be ready to put your plan and preparation into action. Pay attention to local weather reports on radio, television, or the internet. Have the house boarded up or have storm shutters in place. Have plenty of food and water, and make sure all your tools, supplies, and first aid kit is available for use. Have a very secure room available. During the storm, you should always stay in your secure room. Stay away from windows. Do not use a phone or candles, and monitor weather and civil service bulletins on either your regular or your NOAA radio. Always have supplies on hand, and remain indoors when the eye moves over your area, because the storm will resume shortly. After the storm, make sure that all is definitely clear outside and that the storm is completely passed before going out. Report down power lines and stay away from them. Use stored water and food, and be patient. Things will take a while before they get back to normal.
So, this has been
a Hurricane PSA!